Hello and welcome to Mecatol Monthly, the show that asks how much effort is too much effort when it comes to producing a niche show. I'm EA23.
And I'm Councillor Reeves.
And today on your second favorite TI4 show, we recap the ANZ TI4 League Round 2, showcase a very fun moment of the SCPT tournament, and we have an exclusive interview with an important member of the Community Plays TI Game 2.
Before we head into that, the producers here are seeking feedback. Don't get too excited though. Every suggestion I've made to introduce more senseless violence into the show has been ignored. Pathetic. But I'm just here for the carnage.
Indeed. We're looking for feedback and suggestions on what you want to see in a show like this, as keeping your eyes glued to our channel and entertained is the second most important part of my design, my first being selling ad time. Speaking of which, this month's episode is brought to you by Roglar's Diner.
When all seems bleak and empty, only one thing can satiate the ultimate hunger. Sarballs, made with the highest quality cheeses from Lysis 2, Jolnar synthesized wheat, and coated with the finest Nalu neurotoxic glazin for that little extra mouth-numbing sensation. Sarballs. Try some today. Only available at Raglar's Diner, coming to a system near you.
Thank you for your support, and if you live near Raglar's Diner, try Sarballs today.
I used to be a fan of Raglar's, but the recipe for their blood of your enemy's sauce was changed a few years ago, and it's been hard to go back. But those do look good, so perhaps I'll stop by sometime.
I would definitely join you if I had any rides, taste buds, or money. But for now, what I do have is some very exciting battle reports from the ANZ TI4 League. So let's jump into it. This week, we had our voting system in play, and everyone was given the following factions to choose from, meaning that there will be a lot of common situations likely to appear in the recap, making it 23% less interesting than the last episode.
Table 1 was filled with those who had won the first month, and the pressure was on, with everyone keen to keep their winning streak going. Early game, the Arborek managed to set up on Mecatol pretty early, as Mahakt went for some early strategic aggression to nibble on people's exposed units to expand their fleet pool and commander access. The Yin player suffered early, being influence-rich, but poor on production and commodities, but a path to Mars would hopefully set them up for some success in later rounds. Arborek moved into Jolnar's territory, forcing the Hylar player into a corner for the rest of the match. Borders were tense between Mahakt and Nalu, but there was a lack of further aggression. Yin and the Colaris patiently bided their time, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. A tense agenda phase saw Mahakt pay Colaris a 16 trade good bribe to see their Imperial rider passed, but Arborek's deadly plot meant that the Colaris had simply received free lunch. Supports had flown this way and that, the end result being that Nalu was left without the extra point, and had Yin as the benefactor, holding 2. In a scrappy final round, Nalu sold Arborek's ceasefire, preventing the Hylar elimination. Arborek moved some forces off Mecatol, allowing Yin to move in, holding the Imperial card. Tension finally resulted in war between Mahakt and Nalu as both home systems came under assault. As the rest of the galaxy raged, Yin quietly executed their plan, stealing the game with a 6-point swing round. Congratulations, Benferno.
Game 2's early game began pretty slowly, everyone taking their slice, Nalu taking Mecatol, and Colaris being the one to remove them shortly after. However, Ixthian Artifact and Arms Reduction saw Colaris lose the majority of their fleet, and most of the others on the table were also pretty heavily impacted.
The Yin Brotherhood saw an opening to ruin the Council of Colaris' entire plot by using their hero on an undefended planet, and forced the Colaris to provide their support for the throne in exchange for mercy. Yin used his hero to eventually deny Jolnar a point. However, Jolnar played unexpected action to retake the planet. Yin used sabotage, and Jolnar paid the Imperium more than 10 trade goods to use their mech to cancel the sabotage. The deal was made, only for the Yin player to reveal their second sabotage, successfully denying Jolnar the point. Caleris also attempted to do some point denial, and looked to attack Analu's space dock, but an exchange of promissories allowed the Empyrean to not allow Caleris access to their Aether Stream, preventing them from doing anything.
Going into the last round, Yin was on the brink of winning, with Caleris keen on denying them, as they were the second to score. However, the League meta demanded point denials, so originally, the plan was for most to simply just Yin make win, Yin make win, Yin make win, win make Yin. However, plans were disrupted due to the Jolnar getting cold feet, and the table simply agreed that they would allow everyone to score as best as they can that round, letting Yin take the win and everyone getting an ample amount of points to further them in the league standings.
Zadex from Eat Your Greens doing well to get ahead and stay ahead. Ruthless and efficient, just like my ex-wife.
As for Game 3, they failed to fill in their end-of-game reports, but when our producer chased them up, this was the only communication they received. Ominous. But we can verify that at the end of round 4, Yin Brotherhood was on 9 victory points, but they also had 1 strategy, 1 tactical, and 1 fleet token left, with a very few vulnerable ships across the board. Not a great position to find yourself in, but with 2 unscored secret objectives and leadership, people felt uneasy, unsure if they should be concerned or take pity on them.
The game was eventually won by Drama Llama, playing as the Council of Caleris, scoring the last 2-point objective by commanding an armada. With 3 players from the table all being on Team Draconis, there was 50% chance one of them was going to win, but surely they are still grateful to pick up the first win for their team.
Game 4 was a very well documented one, and a special shout out to the table for making our lives easier by reporting their game. Unlike Table 3. Anyway, Game 4 was over pretty quickly, Jolnar selling their promissory at every stage to bring in some serious cash, and Caleris managed to get ahead with an early Imperial point. And, with objectives showing a lot of opportunities to spend resources, everyone felt comfortable playing defensively and investing in victory points.
With Caleris on the brink of winning, Nalu attacked the planet in front of their home system, and by the skin of their fangs, Nalu came out on top. After drawing unexpected action, they planned to stall out Caleris and take their home system. However, the Yin Brotherhood, acting on the impulse of war, took Mecatol from Caleris and popped Imperial to further their own points. Then, Caleris almost managed to take on an entire squadron of fighters within a single destroyer, lasting 3 rounds and taking out several ships before going down. A heroic death that paved the way for Caleris to strike back for a secret objective and score twice in the status phase, ending with all 4 secret objectives from their obsidian relic.
Sun Tzu scoring the second win for Team Draconis very quickly, well played to them.
In Game 5, the Yin Brotherhood came out ready to stand on anyone for an advantage, breaking a non-binding deal on just the second turn. And after turn 4, everyone was sitting pretty closely together in the pack, with all on either 4 or 5 points. However, going into the last turn, Universities of Jolnar went in hard with Imperial, scoring all their secrets, a total of 6 victory points in a single round for the win.
Manbear Piglet from Team Eat Your Greens doing very well with that 6-point swing. Very nicely done. Game 6 was a very messy one, with Mahawk sending a cruiser to be adjacent to the Arborex's home system just to deny their expansion, while also managing to take Mecatol Rex on the first turn. Yin capitalized on their spread forces, taking a system adjacent to Mahawk's home system, and the Arborec was sent back even further, with an agenda phase destroying their ships. Mahawk was barricaded very firmly into their slice by the end of round 3 by a vengeful Arborec. Meanwhile, on the other side of the table, Caleris, Jolnar, and Nalu prepared their forces, as they were doing well on objectives and needed to be ready for war.
Now, the much healthier Yin and Arborec alliance decided to focus on point blocking and sabotaging the 3 set on winning the game, taking a lot of value from the triumphant trio, including Malice, giving Arborec access to the rest of the map. Caleris attempted to blackmail the Clone Planet Alliance, and when the 2 refused, the support swap with the leading Nalu was completed. In the final round, Nalu had a very strong position of both plastic and points going into the final turn, and after drawing Shard of the Throne, the table threw everything they had left at the mummy snakes, but to no avail. Nalu won with an Imperial activation on Mecatol for the win.
Ruskin Arms of number 2 doing great to get that win and the first in their team's league.
The Brotherhood are now the only team without a win to their name, but with players on Table 8, they still have a chance to end with a win.
Nice foreshadowing, Councillor.
As for Game 7, things started pretty diplomatically, with the first shake-up coming when Yin assassinated the representative of Nalu, allowing 3 players to gain a victory point. Imperium massed up and managed to take Mecatol, with Mahak ready to punish their overextension. But negotiations to a simple planet exchange and swap of support for the thrones. Imperium hit Nalu as hard as they could with action cards, but minimal damage was taken. The Yin Brotherhood also managed to keenly avoid a heavy loss, as a ghost ship summoned some time ago provided Yin with the perfect retreat path after overextending for a tech skip planet and objective.
In the final round, almost every player had a potential path to victory, and with the Yolnar using diplomacy on their home system, their eventual tech-based win was basically guaranteed. Yin's hero sabotaged 3 players and caused a lot of stress. Mahak and Kalaris were cut off from each other by the table. Yin powered ahead with a massive fleet that Mahak had to throw their best fleets at just to block their points. Mahak played divert funding, and with Imperial was on the verge of winning mid-turn, and the table had to work together to deny them this win, with Empyrean and Nalu doing the heavy lifting taking their home planet. Yolnar was ready to win in the end phase, but Yin was also ready to win with a secret and a public, and after everyone but Nalu had passed, the Snakes slithered through with their proven Durance secret objective, moving from 7 to 8 and scoring a secret and a single point in the resolution on Zero Initiative to take the win.
Obi-Wan of Team Spikeneck doing fantastically and not giving up on the verge of defeat.
Game 8 was the worst of the first round. So after doing very poorly, these members were keen to prove themselves and make up for their poor performance in the first game. Things began relatively peacefully in nature, with Yolnar being the belle of the ball, with everyone excited to grab their promissory note. The Brotherhood found Malice, and Empyrean found Mirage right next to Yin's home system. Excha and Kalaris were swapping planets right outside their home systems for objectives, but with battles not going the way that they originally intended. Things grew tense between these once close friends. With some keen political bargaining by the Yin and Empyrean players, the table was able to even out their victory points, and with 2 players on 9 and 2 on 8 going into the final round, attention was on Kalaris as they held Imperial, and Yin as they had the tech that they needed, as well as Nalu being the first to score on Zero Initiative in the next turn.
However, in the final session we saw something interesting, proving that most of these players likely belonged on Table 8. With Kalaris on 9, controlling Mecatol and holding Imperial, their victory was all but assured. But the previous agenda removed all of their infantry, leaving a relatively small fleet as the only thing stopping someone from simply denying them the win. However, as each player took their actions, none of them even attempted to deny the Kalaris their win, and they simply won. Sure, they had the potential to build their fleet up outside Mecatol and move back in, but nobody even tried to stop them. Their final session lasted only 25 minutes.
Monkey See, Monkey Do from Team Brotherhood took that win very handily, bringing their team onto the leaderboard. Well earned.
Given, more like it.
Before we move on to our other content, let's recap the team standings. Team Your Greens moves into first place, with Spikeneck managing to hold on to second. Team Draconis move all the way up to third and block it like it's hot, falling all the way down to fourth.
Crybaby Bobcats held on to 5th place. Squirrel fell to 6th. The Brotherhood moved up a rank, now sitting at 7th, and number 2 living up to their name in number 8.
I'm relatively certain that's a poop joke.
Their name or their team?
We now move on to the SCPT correspondent Big Al from the Cabal, with a recent report on the SCPT prelim games. Welcome to the program, Big Al.
Thank you, EA23. It's good to be here, and it's lovely seeing you again, Councillor Reeves.
The same to you. Now, for those unsure at home, care to run us through what's happening here?
Sure thing. The Space Cats Peace Turtles podcast has been hosting a massive TI4 competitive event with the open entry qualifiers, the invite-only prelims, the semi-finals for those who win their prelim games, and the grand final at the very end. And we've just reached the end of the prelim, so we're down to just 36 players who will soon become 6 and finally 1 to reveal the grand champion of the SCPT event.
Well, we don't have the budget to give reports on all 36 games, so how about you talk about one of the standout ones you've seen recently?
Absolutely. Prelim Game 31 was a heavy one with a lot of strategic decisions being made across the table, forcing the game into overtime. You see, there was a timed clock that counts down the standard 8-hour play session, and if no player is won by the end of the 8 hours, then whatever round they are currently on becomes their last. And once all players have scored, the game ends. However, in the event of tied games, which does happen from time to time, players start drawing new Stage 1 objectives, and if a player cannot score, while another player can, they are eliminated from the tiebreaker, and this keeps continuing until there is only one player left.
So a 3-way tiebreaker could see 3 become 2, become 1.
That's it, my furry friend. And as we approach the end of Game 31, 5 out of 6 players were all looking relatively strong, with the 6th player being a mid-game substitute who was left with a pretty poor board state. It was overtime and players were all falling just short of the required 10 points, so they turned to denying others the win and going to force a tiebreaker. This played out, however. A last-minute secret objective saw Tyrant Crumpet in a position to potentially win the game. Feeling somewhat distraught after coming so far and almost seeing a 5-way tiebreaker, players scored their objectives as per normal, when Tyrant Crumpet declared he would not be scoring his final objective, forfeiting the easy win in favour of playing out the 5-way tie.
He played for 12 hours to not win when he had a very easy opportunity?
Indeed, a real way to spice things up, and I love spice, especially in my lamb neck stew. So, the table played their 5-way tie, and it was a lot quicker than anticipated when Argent player Absol197 began the only one to qualify for a structures-based objective, knocking the other 4 tiebreakers down to take the win, served on a silver platter.
Congrats to Absol for the win, and while they'll be heading into the semi-final match, Tyrant Crumpet will be the winner in our hearts. What a legend.
Absolutely. Oh, before I go, tell the audience that if they want more content on the SCPT event, they should let us know.
I think you just did that.
Oh, alright, never mind. Thanks for having me.
Until next time, Chief.
Now, for something a little lighthearted, the community game of TI4, where teams consisting of tens of players attempt to play a game of Twilight Imperium, working with and against not only the opponents but their own teammates, with multiple heads able to make decisions and arrangements, but the turn coming down to entirely whoever happens to be at their computer at that time and what they feel like doing.
With so much chaos, the board is prepped for some amazing battles and betrayals, with deals being bartered and agreed on, and being cancelled out by someone who simply wasn't aware of the deal. It's the craziest TI experience you can have, and you can join in and cause mayhem with one of the links in the description. Play to win. Play for mayhem. It's entirely up to you, and that's one of the most fascinating parts of this experiment.
Game 2 just came to a close, with Bugs managing to take the win by bartering with other players to end the game with 3 support for the thrones. We now go to an interview with winning players from the Sardak North. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Bugs! Now, what was your plan going into the game based on your competitors? Okay, and how did you manage as a team to not only gain but keep 3 support for the throne cards? Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to say to the viewers at home? Thank you so much for your time. Congrats on the win and all the best of luck in the future drafts.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a warrior looks like.
We were going to interview a Latani warrior, but it would have been difficult, as according to our analytics, most of our viewers don't speak Plan.
That and the DAX Robotics Universal Translator has been very slow to update, and unfortunately, due to contract restrictions, I'm not allowed to say anything further.
And you definitely shouldn't. That's everything we have for you today on Mecatol Monthly. If you made it to this point, you either enjoy what we're doing here, or you're away doing the dishes. And either way, I think we deserve a like and a subscribe to keep the show going. We'll be here providing you the endless entertainment and distraction you need to keep you numb to the world around you falling apart as flawed, corrupt governments let your planet's ecosystem slip away until you all starve to death.
What the
We'll see you next time!